TikTok, TikTok.
Productivity, where are you? Well, wait a second. Why are we calling on productivity to begin with? Why? Because you cannot be an unproductive, successful person. So keep watching this video and we're going to be talking about some of the main ways through which you can ensure productivity throughout the day and therefore increase your chances of becoming successful. For those of you that are new to the channel, welcome. My name is Pamela. I'm a lawyer and I own my own law firm. I own multiple businesses outside my law firm. I am, equally, if not more proud to be a mom and a wife, and any title you can think of, I wear that hat. I do so with a fairly high degree of success owing to practicing these tips I'm going to be talking with you about today. So keep on watching. If you are new to the channel, you might want to browse around and see some of the luxury experiences and and happenings that I share on this channel. I think they'll give you perspective sort of as to where this video is coming from and the credibility behind it. And if you're a returning viewer, you're already the best. So I really want to help you become more productive. So let's start with the tips. I'm going to share the first one and you're going to want to keep on watching for the other three because there are 4 tips in this video on how to become more productive. And specifically the video is titled How I Stay Productive 90% of the Day. So I think the most important part of that, other than the 90%, which is factual, the I is the most important disclaimer I can make, right? A lot of these tips are not going to be, the conventional tips that you Google online, because the average content put out online is put out by the average person for the average person. Ouch, harsh. I know that's harsh. But, I didn't get to where I am in life and I don't have the ambitions I do have to continue to get to higher places by lying to myself. So maybe that should be the bonus tip right there. Be very, very honest with yourself and authentic with yourself. My first tip is finding that source of motivation that works for yourself. I'm really surprised as somebody whose self-motivation stems from, I don't want to say negative, but let me give you a real life example. There are people out there that motivate themselves by saying, you're the best, you're beautiful, you're trying your best, things like that, right? The gentle voice. I motivate myself, and this is in large part owing to the absolute traumatic experiences I've had in life and the really rough upbringing I've had. But I motivate myself by saying, you think you worked hard today? There's somebody next door that's 10 times richer, 10 times smarter, 10 times better connected. You better work, okay? So that is the style of motivation that works well with me. It doesn't work well with me to be too nice with myself, although I'm thankful for what I've done. I really value myself and how my efforts, have led to the prosperity of my entire family and things like that. But it doesn't work really well with me to tell myself, you're doing great. And that's a lot of what the mainstream media pushes out. Side note, because it wants to keep you down. It doesn't want you to succeed. But why does that not work with me? Because the follow-up is, okay, if I'm doing great, then what can I improve on? This is the follow-up in my mind, right? Maybe in your mind, telling yourself you're doing great is like that little hug you need that you're not getting from anywhere else. But this is the thought process in my mind. So I tell myself, I watch interviews of Elon Musk, of Jeff Bezos, of these people, and I'm just using well-known names. Obviously, there's, I have successful names in my personal circle as well, but you might not necessarily know who they are. So I watch interviews of individuals like that, and I see Elon Musk's name, he is constantly afraid of being dethroned. He's constantly afraid of somebody doing something better and bigger than him. Okay, and I'm like, you have that and you think you can sit comfortably and be like, I had my 2 meetings today. I'm wonderful. No! And this all also, to be fair, depends on what your goals are, right? So I guess that's why I said at the beginning, the bonus tip is to be honest with yourself. If your goal is to have a townhome, work your 9 to 5, come home, watch an hour of TV, have your dinner, watch another hour of TV, shower and go to bed, maybe you don't need to be so freaking insane about success the way that I am, okay? But these goals are what fuel my self-motivation. You have to talk to yourself and treat yourself in a way that is commensurate with where you actually want to go. The most successful person you can think of, unless they've gotten there by ways that have nothing to do with merit, like they were born into it or it's a lottery or something like that. But then again, how do you define success? You know, a lottery winner could be the dumbest person on the block. Not necessarily successful, right? Or somebody that daddy handed them everything could also be the dumbest person on the block. So it depends as a tangent how you're defining success. For me, success is the whole package. It's like the most money, the most accomplishments, the most kids, the most big family. Like it's the whole package, okay? And mental sanity, of course. But you have to be careful what your definition of success is, and then motivate yourself accordingly. And don't fall for red herrings. I remember one time, when my husband and I first met, he's from a very different background than I am. And he would tell me, because of how rough and completely, I wish his background story was that he was from like a war-torn country. His background story is far more horrific than that. And he would tell me, when I would talk about my anxiety and reaching certain goals and things like that, he would say, well, at least we made it further than some, like there's somebody else that doesn't even have what you want or what you have right now. So just making up an example, I would talk about wanting our first house when we met. And he would say, but you know what? At least we can rent like a safe, warm, cozy place. And there's people out there that can't even do that. And when he would talk to me like that, he's well-intended. And again, he's coming from his background of like literally having nothing good his whole life. When he would talk to me like that, I would have physical reactions to it. Like the breath, the warmth, the itching, like what? I'm not trying to compare myself to somebody that, is barely meeting rent. I'm trying to compare myself to the guy with the biggest house, in the world, not even in town or in the country, in the world, right? And yes, there is one last disclaimer there, to sanity check yourself. You have to close that loop by saying, okay, that's what I'm aiming for. But if I don't get every single goal I'm aiming for, I'm still going to be in the top 1% of successful individuals because of how high my goals are. A common adage that might help you, it's if you reach for the stars, at least you'll land among the moon, right? Or you'll land on the moon, whatever the expression is. So sanity check yourself in the sense that it's okay if not everything happens all the time at the time you're hoping it to. But again, motivate yourself according to your goals, not according to the I am great. Okay. Because then, you know what? Stay great. Stay great and watch the rest of us keep moving. The second tip that really helps me, and these are just like pragmatic everyday tips. Like I'm not saying, like you brush your teeth with your opposite hand and you increase a few IQ points. No, I mean like concrete day-to-day. What did I do prior to turning this camera on? What am I doing after I turn this camera off? The second tip that helps me is to break down tasks. I've mentioned well-known individuals in this video like Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, things like that. They were once boys that couldn't read, okay? There were once boys that couldn't potty train. Like just as the building blocks to their humanness started somewhere really small, you have to keep in mind, again, to sanity check yourself, that it's okay for you to break down your tasks so that they are really small bits in and of themselves. What do I mean? Let's say you're watching this video and you are, a path I went through myself. You want to get into Harvard Law School, okay? But you are in your first year of undergrad. There is no way, conventionally speaking, there's a few kid wizards here and there, but there is no way for you to get into Harvard Law School today in your first year of undergrad. What is the smaller building block to Harvard Law today? The smaller building block is acing all of your courses, okay? What's an even yet smaller building block to that? The smaller building block to that is you're not going to get an A on the whole class if you can't get an A on the midterm that's next week. So break it down further. What is the smaller building block to that? Being productive today. You are so much less likely to get that A that's in a week, 7 days, if you blow one of these days off, if you don't study today. So study something today. Study for an hour. Inch up to productivity, okay? The small steps help from a sanity check perspective as well. And you know what? They build up to really, really big steps. That is something that I encourage as well. Not in the weird, not in the, again, we're not trying to trick ourselves into feeling good about ourselves. In the pragmatic sense, right? Like, you genuinely need an A on this midterm to get an A in the class to get into Harvard, okay? You need other things too, like extracurriculars and things like that. But you understand what I'm saying about break down the task. And as you do this, I mean, there's a mega tip lurking in the background that it's to me so obvious. I didn't make it a tip in and of itself, but it is self-awareness, right? How are you going to know what the most important small step you can take today is if you don't know what the end step is for you? The end step is not, I'll be okay. I just want to be okay. Financially comfortable. What does that mean? Somebody's financially comfortable because they can buy pizza. Somebody's financially comfortable, somebody's financially uncomfortable because, all they could afford was a Lamborghini yacht and they wanted a bigger one. What is financial? Be specific, be self-aware. The third tip, and this you see a lot with, you might see it with lifestyle changes, you'll see it with budgeting, you'll see it, in a lot of other disciplines that require self-control and self-awareness. And this tip is allow for some blowing off of steam. The 90% productivity rate, that I titled this video, and that I hope when you Google, how to be productive 90% of the time this video pops up for you, is not a coincidence. That was not a result of me calculating my time and then being like, oh, it happens to be, around 90%. That is intentional. I intentionally set aside 10% of my waking hours every day as blow-off hours. To give you an example in the financial world, let's say you just got a check for $112. Usually I'll blow off the $12 and I'll invest the $100, right? So same thing with my time. I understand that I will, start tweaking if I try to push myself to be 100% productive 100% of the time. I've tried that before, and the overall quality of life dips insanely compared to even 95% or 90% productivity. And keep in mind, I don't even think the average person is like 10-20% productive of their time. So I allow myself to blow off some steam. And what that might look like for you, again, self-awareness. If you're the kind that every hour you need 5 minutes off, or I guess 10% of every hour is 6 minutes, right? 6 out of 60. If you need 6 minutes off every hour, that's on you. Versus if you need, if you want to bank that time and take an hour off every 10 hours, okay? For me, it works a little better when I work for slightly longer stretches of time and I have a more enjoyable time off. Because if I do the 6 minutes every hour thing, it starts to feel like, what if I take 7 minutes? Then the whole day is thrown off. So I work for longer hours, but then when I blow off steam, it's like, do not come at me. I could be doing anything in the world and it's not a bad thing that I'm doing. Do not come for me. Whether that's the conventional, like literally watching TikTok like a zombie. Why not? I need something to take my brain, to like cool down the mechanism, right? Whether that's online shopping, whether that's like going for a drive, whether that's spending time with my family, whatever it is, that is a no judgment, 10% block off to my day that I don't want to hear anything from anybody, including myself. I don't judge myself for how I spend that 10% of the time. If anything, sometimes it's like the more like junky that spend of time is, and notice I'm not saying waste of time, spend of time, that is the time that is cooling the hard drive that's going to keep me going again. So if I work 10 hours, I take an hour off, I'm going to keep working another 10 hours after that. Successful people, a lot of them don't sleep very much. So just because I worked a lot doesn't mean like, oh, I'm done for the day. I'm going to keep working. So I need this time to like cool the algorithm. And I suggest that's an approach that you take as well. It takes away the feelings of guilt. It takes away the feelings of, lack of control over your schedule. You literally set that alarm. I set my alarm if I'm taking an hour off. I set my alarm at the 50-minute mark so then I can be like, okay, back to earth, let's work. And my fourth tip, and these are all equally important. Like I can't think of one tip that outweighs the other, at least again, from my perspective. My fourth tip is very closely tied with what's been looming in the background this whole time, to self-awareness, is identify your purpose. Okay, I remember just a week ago, I was in a meeting with somebody I'm considering hiring to help with one of my businesses. And they don't have children, they want children, and we were talking about that. You know, I'm pretty private about my private life, my family life, but I do have children. Having a large family is something I always dreamt of. I wouldn't work as hard if I didn't have a large family. That's part of my self-awareness. And he said, you know, he's so worried about, you know, all the excuses people feed themselves. His excuse was he's worried about when he has kids, he's not going to be as productive, or his career will suffer, this and that. I said, are you kidding me? Do you think, now that I have kids, do you think I sit there and I look at my child and I say, you have the most gorgeous smile, but you will starve. I'm not working. Having children has skyrocketed my productivity. It's do or die now. If I don't hit the metrics I want to hit, my kid's lifestyle suffers. And how the hell am I going to look at my kids and be like, your mom's dumb. This is why you don't have good things. And by things, I don't mean literally like gold bricks and materialistic things. It can be travel, it can be education, it can be us living in a safe neighborhood. Like, how can I look at my child in the eye who is giving me unconditional love and this and that and be like, you know what? Couldn't do it this month. Couldn't do it. So that's part of my purpose. Your purpose doesn't have to be kids. I mean, it's 2024. Your purpose can be whatever on earth you want it to be. But purpose is crucial, and the fact that you are aware of it. And by the way, your purpose can be yourself. Your purpose can be a damn good life for yourself, okay? So, but identify that purpose and work for it. Imagine, you know, how hard you work. If that's you, be self-aware. And, you know, looking at yourself in the mirror with ratty clothes and maybe not the best health and this and that. Don't you deserve better? You deserve better for how hard you work. And be driven by the very harsh reality that for every minute you're not productive, you are hurting that thing. That's what I tell myself, just so you know. You're taking away from that thing, and that thing doesn't deserve you to hurt it. It deserves you to foster and nourish it, you know. So those are my 4 tips. Have I scared you yet? Hopefully you come back and watch next week. Now, I think I've spent enough time here. I have stretched my productivity steam blow-offy situation quota for the day. So now I need to get back to my work, but I love talking to you guys. Let me know in the comments down below if this kind of video is useful to you on this channel. It's a luxury channel, yes, but let's not kid anybody. Like, these luxuries are not falling from the sky, right? We're working for them. So let me know if some of this background stuff is helpful to you, is something you found on theme for the channel, and honestly, whatever your thoughts were. Thank you for watching. We can all win together. Money is literally fake. There's no, like, you can go online today and create a new source of income for yourself, and because it's fake, you know, it's infinite. So I want everybody to win because I know what it was like to not win, and there's no reason that a lot of people should be stuck in the not winning category in 2024. Thank you for watching. Give this video a big thumbs up. Don't forget to click subscribe, and I'll see you next week.